Hey, hey, hey! It's Swifty Baps. I say as if you know who that is. And welcome to this first video in the whole New Year, New Me upload thing that I want to try out. We'll see how it goes. Today's just a little bit of a talking video because something very special is coming up in 3 days. We are getting the second announcement for Radar Festival, and I couldn't be more stoked for it. If you're not sure what Radar Festival is, it's a 2-day event that takes place in Guildford, just full of tech and prog and just heavy as anything bands. And I was very lucky enough, I say lucky enough, I mean I spent money on it so I can't be that lucky. I was, fortunate enough to go to the first year they did last year, and what a weekend it was. Like, I've literally not had that much fun at a festival in years. Like, I'm pretty sure the last time I had that much fun was 2012's Download, and that was only fun because of how awful it was, although the bands were pretty sick. But yeah, so this video is basically a sort of predictions / wish list that I've sort of procured. None of this is based on any factual sort of evidence of that I think, these bands are definitely going to get announced or anything like that. It's just sort of some bands that I think would be sick to see. Whether that be just to my own sort of selfish endeavours, or whether it be a band that I'd really like to see live, who I probably wouldn't go and see on their own, if that makes sense. Bands that I'm still sort of warming up to, but would love to see live because apparently I've heard they're brilliant. So we're going to jump into that. But before we jump into that, I've got a quick honourable mentions list. This is a very small amount of bands who, while I think would be sick to see there, I just don't see them showing up. But I could be completely wrong. I could be getting this entire weekend wrong. 5 bands that I think would be really sick to see, but I think it's very unrealistic if they do appear. But all the better if they do. So, Little Tybee would be an amazing one. Never heard Little Tybee. Progressive folk, slight jazz fusion with one of the sickest guitarists I think going, and although very underrated, although if you're in the extended guitar range nerds group, you will, you definitely would have seen him, the wonderful Josh Martin. Yeah, I think these guys are a little bit unrealistic, based purely on the fact that I'm 90% convinced they've never actually played the UK before. And while the headliners that I think that they would play great under Dirty Loops have never played the UK either, I'm pretty sure they've never played Europe either. If they did get to come over here, that'd be sick, but I just don't see it being very realistic. I'm pretty sure they're still in the studio as well, or I think they might be going back out on tour soon. I'm not actually quite sure, but yeah, would be sick to see, but don't see it happening. Another one would be Good Tiger. Again, never heard them. Just one of the sickest bands that I think are going, one of my personal favourites. But they've been in a bit of a downer, I think, over the last year or so. Unfortunately, their drummer left. I think it was beginning of 2019 or very late 2018. It just doesn't seem to be that they have any interest in playing any shows anytime soon, which is a shame. But it does seem like they are going to make new music, so all good, really. But yeah, very unrealistic. They're actually going to... There's a small little link to them that's going to come back later in this list, but you'll see why. Vola. It's not out of the realms of possibility, especially considering they played last year. My first experience with Vola was with Radar, and can I just say I've been a diehard ever since. Applause from a Distant Crowd is one of the best albums I've ever heard, and I'm really excited to see what they bring out next. Yeah, and I think that's one of the reasons that they're not going to be at Radar, because it seems to be that they're in the studio working on their follow-up to Applause from a Distant Crowd. So, yeah. Don't see them making an appearance, but would be colossally cool if they did. Yeah, my next one, fourth on this list, is Chon. I think that Chon would be amazing on the day underneath Dirty Loops. You've got some amazing bands that day. I'm assuming Tosca are going to be on that day as well. So you've got Dirty Loops, Pliny, Tosca. Throw Chon into that mix would be amazing. But they have a tour here. I think it's either end of March or end of April. So it doesn't seem very likely that they're going to come here for that tour and then come back later, although I'm not sure what their current tour circuit is like, for like festivals and stuff like that. So maybe, again, not out of the realms of possibility, but doesn't seem very likely. And the last of our honourable mentions is Caligula's Horse. Really got into these guys last year. Would be super cool to see them live. I've heard only good things, but I'm 90% sure that their North American tour starts around the same time as this does. Could probably be wrong, though. As you can see, I've not done a lot of information on these bands. So yeah, so that's the honourable mentions out of the way. As I say, would be really cool to see a lot of these bands, but I don't think that they're going to be making an appearance. But again, would blow my mind if they did. So we're actually going to get into the actual list now. It's here on the floor, as you can see. I'd also like to point out, I have no idea why I drank this like with two hands. I can do it with one hand. It's Vimto, by the way. It was the only thing in my flat. So yeah, here are just 5 bands that I think there's a good chance that we're going to see them, except for maybe one. One is like a really out there theory, but you know, I like to think that there's some like stock to the point. So yeah, let's get into it. At number 5, it's Voyager. I think to say that Voyager had a good year last year would be a gross understatement. From right up to the beginning to right up to the end, they were just absolutely killing it. From the release of Bright Star as a single, right up to Colours in the Sun, which can I say is phenomenal. If you've not heard it, go check the album out. It is superb. Yeah, I actually only became a fan of Voyager last year when Bright Star dropped. I'd never heard of them previous to that, and then somebody in I think it's Prog Snob, posted a video of it and instantly fell in love with them. I think that, you know, they're such a unique band. They've got all those kind of elements that, you know, I think a lot of people, when they would use them, would come across as really cheesy. But, like, because Voyager are who they are, they have this way of making it so, like, endearing. And it's just a genuine, like, display of talent. That being said, it'd be amazing to see them again. I was able to catch them in September when they did their quick UK tour. UK tour. But yeah, I think a appearance at Radar would just be awesome because, you know, I think that they're a kind of band that they would, regardless of what day that they were on, whether that would be the first day or the second day, as I have a feeling that it's going to be kind of more instrumentally cool stuff on the first day and then more heavy stuff on the second day, kind of what they did for the first year, where they kind of had, like, you know, the more tech on one day and more, like, progressive stuff on the other day. But yeah, Voyager would just fit in anywhere, and it'd be really cool to see a couple more songs from Colours in the Sun be played live. I would love to see them play Runaway live, especially with that incredible keyboard solo. But yeah, that's my number 5 pick. At number 4, it is Heart of a Coward. These guys played Radar last year, and I will admit that the music kind of doesn't sort of resonate with me in terms of me just sitting at home and listening to it. But Jesus Christ, what a set they put on. It's very rare that I actually get that into a band that I'm not particularly familiar with, but they just had a way of just pulling you in and just making you a part of it, regardless of whether you wanted to be or not. But obviously everybody did because they were amazing. So I think another appearance from them would be really cool. And I also kind of think it's almost guaranteed. I said almost way too many times there, but we'll live with it. I feel like they have this really interesting sort of friendship/relationship with the guys that run Radar. The guys that run Radar have also put on a show for them at the Boiler Room in Guildford coming up very soon, which I sadly can't make it to. But yeah, I just have a really strong feeling that these guys are going to make another appearance. I wouldn't be shocked to see them become effectively what Zebrahead are to Slam Dunk. Sort of like this band that they bring back every year, but everyone's cool with it because they always put on an amazing show. And regardless of where they are on the bill, whether it be main stage, second stage, like, they'll just kill it. And yeah, I think it'd be really cool to see those guys again because that set is absolutely fire. And number 3, it's sort of like a 3-way tie because I feel like these guys are about as likely as each other and I didn't feel there was much point putting them all on their own slot. But, you know, I can talk about them as sort of one whole entity. But number 3, it's Agent Fresco, Car Bomb, and Archaon. When people talk about how good Radar was, or when you look at reviews of the bands that played, the 3 bands that are always at the top of everybody's list were Agent Fresco, Car Bomb, and Archaon. And it's not hard to see why. Every single band put on, like, an incredible show. Like, Agent Fresco, you were just entranced by this beautifully eclectic sound. Car Bomb is what I imagine being waterboarded is like, but in the best way possible. Like, it's just the most disorientingly heavy thing I've ever witnessed. And God, those guitar skills are just beyond incredible. And let's not forget the cool laser sound. But also on top of that, Archaon, who I've been sort of connected to sort of for a good couple of years. I have the old vocalist on my Facebook, and I've had him on there for years. Nice bloke. So yeah, I've kind of known who they are for a little while. So to get to see them was really cool. And although, while I will admit that, you know, the music didn't quite resonate with me, you can't deny how unbelievably good they were. And, you know, and it was definitely one of the tightest sets that I saw that weekend. So I think all three of these are quite likely, because I feel like they're the kind of bands that Radar are going to want to sort of keep around for a little bit. You know, maybe not every year, but like, you know, kind of bring them back as recurring sort of, you know, artists, because they put on amazing shows, and, you know, you want bands that are going to put on like amazing shows almost as a guarantee every time. If you had to say, you know, which one would you like the most to see, I'd probably say Agent Fresco. I think that was my favourite out of all three of them. I think the most likely is Archaon, just because they are UK based, which means it's probably a lot easier to get them here. But who knows? I could be completely wrong, and all three of them could appear. That would be sick if all three of them did appear. At number 2, it's Sleep Token. These guys are my prediction for the second day main stage headliner. If there's one thing I've learned from the very small experience I have with Sleep Token, is two things. It's one, although I've yet to sort of gravitate towards the music fully, they're incredibly talented and they're incredibly good. And the second one is that they have quite clearly the Midas touch, because they just seem to be making this very small way through the metal scene, and just everything they touch just turns to gold. They're held in like such a high revere that you can't ignore it. I've never seen them live, but I know a few people that have, and they've said it's one of the best shows they've ever seen. Aesthetically, from what I've seen from them live, they look awesome. I think these guys are going to be a perfect companion or opposite to Dirty Loops, where Dirty Loops are very joyful, very uplifting, very optimistic, very jazzy sounding. Sleep Token, for what I know of them, seem to be the complete opposite of that. You know, very sort of nihilistic, very sort of low, kind of droning kind of tones, and just going to create sort of this beautiful contrast for the 2 days that I really think is needed currently. I say needed. Nothing's really needed. But I just think they'd be an amazing sort of second headliner. And I feel like they're the kind of bands that they're at that level where they could be the headliner. I was really struggling to think of bands that I think are sort of, who are on the same level that could headline. And these guys just seem to be the ones that everyone's sort of aiming for. Everybody wants to see them. And I think if they got them, this would be sick. And number 1, and it's time to get your tinfoil hats out, because this is the wildest thing that I think I could predict for it. But my number 1 pick is the Safety Fire. As I mentioned earlier, there's going to be a small connection to Good Tiger, and this is that connection, and I think most people kind of figured that out. I very wrongly predicted that these guys were going to be the secret act last year, based on the fact that they posted something online around the same time as Radar were talking about their secret act. So, you know, the classic case in me, I got all excited, oh, they're gonna make a comeback. And they didn't, which kind of bummed me out, because I really wanted it to be them. So, that was a bit foolish of me. But this year, I feel like there's a little bit more evidence to suggest that maybe something is coming from them. There's no guarantee that it's going to be an appearance at Radar. If anything, I think it's so far-fetched that it's almost stupid to put it in this video. But there's nothing wrong with being a dreamer, I've personally found. But yeah, so recently, I think it was only about a couple of days ago, Safety Fire put this on Facebook. And to me, there's something about it that just screams official sort of recognition that something is coming. You know, with the phrase, the Safety Fire 2020. To me, that's almost like a confirmation in of itself that something is coming. Whether that be actually them getting back on stage together, or just going into the studio to make another record, would be incredible. You know, either way, I would be super, super excited about that. They're one of my favourite bands. This is just an excuse for me to talk about how much I love them. I also think that this has a very small connection to the fact that the last tour that they did, I missed because my work didn't book me off. So I had to work it, but I was like, oh, it's fine. I'll see them on their next tour. But then they broke up, so I didn't get to. So I never saw a single song off of Mouth of Swords. And that really bothers me. But yeah, if it does end up being them, in any way, shape or form, if they somehow make an appearance, that would be crazy. As I say, this is such an out there theory that I'm even questioning whether to put it in here. But I think realistically, if there's one place where I would love to see them make a comeback, it would be in this really small, kind of very intimate show, but something that's bigger than just maybe, you know, a show at a venue in London. And where better than arguably one of the sickest up-and-coming festivals like Radar. So yeah, there are my predictions / wish lists for Radar 2020. It could be anybody at this point, I think. The lineup that they've given so far, which is here, is so diverse, I think, and so sort of like interesting that, as I say, anything could come from it at this point. But these are just some bands that I think would go down really well at Radar. I think that they would, put on an amazing show. I think every band here, would have a good place there. But I think the bottom line is no matter what gets announced on Friday, we're going to have an amazing weekend like we did last year. And I'm hoping that it's just as good, if not better. And, I've got like a weird sort of soft spot for Radar now that I just want to see them continue to create more and more amazing shows, more and more, like, just get bigger and bigger. Like, I don't even know what I'm saying at this point. I just need to sort of end this, and I'm not really sure how to. But yes, thank you for watching me ramble for however long this is. I'm hoping it's shorter than 10 minutes, because that would just be awful for you. But yeah, who would you like to see at Radar? Why don't you do me a good and leave me something in the comments section to look at? Or even just tell me that you think my list sucks. That's fine. Or maybe you tell me it's the best thing you've ever seen. I don't know. I've never made a sign-off like before, so this is me, that's you, and if you're going to Radar, I'll see you there.